The dog is finally here, and I want to give you guys my thoughts. Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock, and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. I can be a little bit louder for this particular video than my last one. I'm going to be a little bit louder, but still a little bit on the quiet side today, but that should only be for another couple days. So either way, today we're going to be talking about the new fusion dog, Kro'khad the Throatripper. Now I am very, very excited for this. We've been waiting for this dog for a long time, all the way back when we first fused Shayak, and I'm only going to focus today on the dog. Shayak's kit kind of does fall into it, but just to keep the video kind of short and sweet, I'll just basically say that Shayak brings a lot of what you would want for Hydra, and when you combine them with the dog, crazy things can happen, and I'm very, very excited. So before we get into it, standard kind of disclaimers beforehand, right? We don't know what the multipliers on this. If the multipliers are trash, then it doesn't matter how good this kit reads, they're not going to do any damage. And very important to understand that going into it. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Listen up, I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril, as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. Oh, I also want to note too, because Shayak was a fusion and now we have a fusion for the dog. I don't know, and feel free to let me know in the comments, if there's, with the exception of Noel, who obviously was a fusion to follow up Sir Nick, who I think was a fusion before I ever started playing. The reason I mention that is I don't know that there's ever been 2 fusion champions that have been linked other than Noel and Sir Nick, because usually they're added as like a guaranteed champion or a 10x or progressive or some, you know, other way to get the companion champion. That's usually less economical than a fusion. So really excited that they're doing this dog as a fusion. I'm sure it's several months later than we probably would have wanted, but let's talk about the kit and see if it's worth the wait. How about that, guys, huh? We're going to start with the A1. Hound Tyrant attacks all enemies. This attack deals single target damage to each target individually rather than AoE damage. Will ignore reflect damage buffs, pain link debuffs, and ally protection buffs. So let's talk about that. So ignore reflect damage. There are certain Hydra heads that put reflect damage on themselves, and your nukers can tend to kill themselves, and it stinks. So ignoring that reflect damage is pretty good. Also, ignoring pain link means you won't kill one of your allies in Hydra, because pain link is the debuff that they put on, where if you damage a specific head, it will hurt your ally. And ignoring ally protection just increases the overall damage. This attack also deals double damage when counterattacking if Packmaster Shayak is on the team, and I do believe that there's counterattacking involved in his kit with dogs. Maybe we will look at his kit at the end of this. Probably will. I know I said I wouldn't earlier in the video, but I think we will. Just, we're going quicker than I thought, so we'll be fine. Okay, I wanted to go back and talk about the single target damage to each target individually. There's a head that decreases AoE damage, or is it just a passive for all the heads? I don't remember, but either way, I think this is going to circumvent around that. So this should be a really hard-hitting A1, specifically in Hydra. By the way, I'm going to focus all of my comments on Hydra for the most part, because that is really what this champion is geared for. That being said, ignoring reflect damage does offer some interesting usage in like Chimera because of the Ram form, but I don't think that this champion is going to do enough damage. And then certainly when you combine them with Shayak, you're taking up 2 spots on a 5-person Chimera team, and I just don't think that you're going to have the room to fit these 2 and still fit everything else that you need to complete a Chimera run. So, and this is probably going to be far less damage than what you'd get out of a enemy max HP or a really well-built, hard-hitting champion. So, yeah, I'm not expecting this to be a Chimera thing, but it is worth mentioning. Okay, move on to the A2 again. Attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on enemies under 2 or more debuffs, which in Hydra should be most of the time. Has a 75% chance to place Leech and a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns, and they cannot be resisted if Shayak is on the team. So I don't think the dog is going to be very good by themselves. I think if you have Shayak, great. If you don't have Shayak, probably wouldn't go for the dog, to be completely honest with you, because so much of this is dependent on Shayak, right? You get a double damage A1 with Shayak, you get irresistible debuffs, meaning 0 accuracy required for this champion. Leech and weaken, as far as debuffs for Hydra, Leech is very good. I've definitely gotten to a point in a lot of different areas of the game where Leech is actually like my primary source of healing. Weaken, obviously super helpful. I like this. I'm not complaining. I do like this a lot. Just the weaken alone is very good. Irresistible debuffs as well just is always valuable, right? Because you will always place this regardless. And you can't even get 3%ed on it, right? So I do like it. I don't know that I feel like you're probably going to have somebody else that's bringing weaken on your team. But if you don't, obviously you might be able to take somebody out and put in this champion as a replacement for that particular role. So that's good. And then the Leech, like I said, that is a big source of healing for me in a lot of areas. Hydra is one of those areas, but I've also kind of gotten away from using Leech and relying on something a little more consistent, especially when you're taking up 2 roles already of a Hydra team. You want to, because there's so many things you want to bring to mitigate stuff in Hydra that I don't know that I can trust a Leech without a Reviver type thing, right? So, but still, I think very good. I think very good. Sorry. Double hitter, very good. So, sorry, I kind of went on a rant there, but I just wanted to give my thoughts that there could be better debuffs, if I'm being honest, but these aren't bad. And as a whole, I think this is just a really good A2, so I'm not worried about it at all. I want to make that clear. Dominant Predator attacks 1 enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense, as well as life barrier and poison cloud buffs, and effects that redirect attacks, damage, or debuffs to another target. Repeats this attack once if Packmaster Shayak is on the team. Okay, so a 50% ignore defense, I think, is very strong. Ignoring life barrier, we'll come back to that. Ignoring poison cloud is incredibly strong. Incredibly strong to ignore poison cloud, because if you're not bringing a burner and poison cloud accidentally gets up and then a champion gets eaten, that is how most of my runs end, right? In Hydra is usually by poison cloud being out, somebody got eaten that happened to, oh, my block debuff was resisted, they got poison clouded, and now I can't free my X, Y, and Z champion, and it's like, okay, well, this run's over. So to be able to ignore poison cloud is huge. I don't like ignoring life barrier. Now, I will admit that their intention behind this, and we'll find out in the passive because I have looked at this kit a little bit, but the issue that I have with ignoring life barrier is that you want to break that shield. The benefit of ignoring life barrier is to free one of your allies quicker that gets eaten, because that's another thing. Like, that's literally the worst case scenario, in my opinion, of somebody getting eaten is poison cloud is up and they have life barrier. It's like you're weak hits are not going to break that, and you just have to hope that as soon as those buffs fall off, they're still being digested and you can just burst down that very quickly. Also worth noting that they don't get affected by attacks that redirect the damage or debuffs to another target, which is the Head of Mischief. Sometimes if your Hex isn't up, and instead of Poison Cloud and Life Barrier, if your Hex is not up and the Head of Mischief eats somebody, there's I think a 75%, feel free to correct me in the comments, but I think there's a 75% chance that you're going to hit another head. And that sucks, especially when you have maybe 2 nukers and one of your nukers gets eaten and your second nuker, they're on cooldown for their AoE hits, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to try and single target hit this guy, and they go whoop, and hit the wrong target. So being able to ignore that, I think, is going to be very valuable. So, and it comes into play later. This also books down to a 3-turn cooldown. So, okay, Primal Ambition increases this champion's attack by 5% when killing an enemy or decapitating a Hydra head. Stacks up to 25%. Increases this champion's attack by 10% when killing an enemy or decapitating a Hydra head. Instead, if Shayak is on the team, stacks up to 50%. Instantly activates the dominant predator, the A3, against a Hydra head when an ally is consumed by that head, if Packmaster Shayak is on the team. What an amazing passive. First of all, I've always said this in my videos, multipliers will apply, but champions who scale over the course of a fight are strong, traditionally strong. Harima, Ninja, Varl, yeah. So granted, Varl goes up to 100% of their attack. Ninja scales up to 100% and crit damage, and Harima stacks up to 100% as well. Only going to 50% is noteworthy. It's a noteworthy change from other champions that I am comparing to, but I still think this is going to be very valuable. Just plain and simple. I think it's going to be very, very solid. So again, multipliers are going to be the big factor here. This guy could hit, this dog could hit like a wet noodle, and everything we've said is kind of out the window. But if you have Shayak, I think this is a must-get fusion. Just flat out must-get, because I just can't see. I love Shayak. Well, okay. I was excited for Shayak, let's say that. But I never really felt a usefulness for him in the game. So let's go over the kit. All battles aura, 19%. So pretty typical legendary all battles aura of 19%. Keeps up with some of the other comparable auras. So I'm happy there. We've got decreased defense on a single target A1, then teams up with any hounds, which will include our new champion. So that A1 that has the double, actually I don't know because this isn't a counterattack, so I don't think it will work here, but that A1 is going to get a lot of action. So we should see value from Shayak's A1, right? We go to the A2, removes all debuffs from this champion and heals them by 50%, then puts a shield on this champion for 2 turns. The shield is equal to any surplus. The shield cannot be removed, stolen if at least one hound is on the team. Places a taunt on themselves and reflex damage on this champion, and they cannot be removed so they're protected buffs if there's a hound of some kind. Yeah, this is okay. This is very selfish. I almost feel like I'd probably, unless there's a usefulness for the taunt, which I guess maybe high resist could be a thing, or, you know, high resist, high act. Well, wait, can't be. Yeah, I think these can't be resisted, right? Okay, there's the counterattack too. Okay, so I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this A2, to be completely honest with you. I don't know that I'm that intrigued by it. I do think taunt has its uses though. Here we have filled the turn meters of all allies by 25%. Also has an 80% chance of placing block buffs. Debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. That books up to 100%. This debuff can't be resisted if there's a hound on the team, which is going to be this new guy, right? And so this irresistible block buffs, unremovable buffs, and this, you know what I just realized? The selfishness is a good thing. I didn't think about this until just now. The selfishness of this makes this a very, very good mischief tank, meaning that, first of all, the buffs that are placed on them, at least these self buffs, can't be removed, but these buffs also, because that head targets whoever has the most buffs, and so they are going to be the target of the steal every time. So I would build them in a high resist build. You don't need accuracy because this is unresistible. You will still need accuracy. This is something I hate, is that, like, because, well, maybe you bring a different hexer, right? And I probably would, because this is inconsistent. Well, but placed by this champion increases the damage by 20%. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you want to do that. You're definitely going to get a lot of hexes out there, but I don't know. You then have to also build accuracy, which is kind of frustrating. So either way, irresistible block buffs, they can be your block buff champion at the very least, and maybe, you know, do some testing to see if the hex damage here, the 20% I'm going to assume is going to be very good, but there's an inconsistency on the hex here that could potentially be an issue for me. Although, I wonder if it works with a hex set. I'm sure that's been tested. Let me know in the comments if it works, if maybe a high resist hex set will be good on Shayak to get more of those hexes placed by him, if it's his gear maybe, I don't know. But yeah, overall I think that they are going to pair very, very well. I think that the dog is going to do a really good bit of damage and really provide some new sources of Hydra teams. Now, is this going to be Titus level stuff, Trunda level stuff? I don't think we're going to go that far, not on a fusion, as certainly one that isn't a void, you know. I don't think they're going to want this to do Titus level damage, but you know, I am very excited about the promise of this team, and the opportunity to play around with it as well. I think is going to be quite fun. So we see some interesting stuff. So I'm excited, and I really wanted to communicate that with you guys, right? I wanted to share that. I know I'm a day late, maybe 2 days late by the time this comes out. I'm living my life this summer, so just got to keep up with stuff at the pace that I can. So thank you guys for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed my insights. I am going to go for this fusion overall. I might even pull out the old free-to-play and see, because the free-to-play I think has Shayak, and I don't know if I want to miss out on the dog when I may potentially go back to that account. So I don't know. I haven't thought too much of it, but I really wanted to say thank you guys for watching, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing. It's a great way to help support my channel, help me grow towards becoming a full-time content creator. I would really appreciate that. And last but not least, I will see you all in the next video. Take care.